wouldn't be having economies of scale. At this point, they wouldn't have figured out efficiencies yet. So startup costs are usually high, running costs are usually high, and most times the product would be unprofitable. It's a new product in the market, it will be unprofitable. And at this stage, there will be some sales, but total sales in general are very, very low and very, very slow because customers are getting used to this, getting used to the product, trying to understand the product, and all that. So that's the introductory stage. That's the introductory stage. This is the point where the product is introduced into the market. Then we have what we call the growth stage. The growth stage. So think about it like this. You have a baby. The baby doesn't walk. Now the baby is walking. It's doing some steps here and there, steps here and there. So at this point, your sales that was very, very low, experience very slow growth, it begins to grow. Customers are becoming more aware of your product. And what we see here is that the organization or the entity is becoming used to the market. Sales is beginning to grow. So they begin to earn some small profits, get some little profits here and there. They get some little profits here and there. So it attracts new entrants because people see that, oh, this is something where you could actually make money. New entrants are attracted. New entrants are attracted. New entrants are attracted. New entrants are attracted. Then you have the maturity phase. At this point, sales will remain stable. You will not see huge growth. Growth will begin to be stable. You will not see huge growth because it's a mature market now. And your profits will begin to stabilize, and there will be little opportunity for growth. Little opportunity for growth. And this stage, in the matured phase, the only way you can make some profit is to reinvent yourself or reinvent the product. Reinvent the product through differentiation. That's how you reinvent the product. You have to differentiate. You differentiate or you die. Or you die out. You have to differentiate the product. Very, very key. Very, very, very key. Very, very key. So you see how the product life cycle is, or the life cycle model is. Very, very important. Very, very important. Okay, so you have the decline phase. After stability, now sales begin to fall and profits also begin to decline. Then companies leave the market. Companies leave the market. So let's think about a product. Let's think about a product. Let's think about a product. It might not go through all these 4 stages, but let's think about the product. So what comes to mind now is UT Bank's, what was it? Is it 48-hour low? Was it 48 hours? Please remind me, was it 48 hours or 72 or 24 hours? UT Bank had a loan program. Was it 48 hours?
Yes, 48 hours.
Yeah, you're alone in 48 hours. Yes, that's it. Okay. So they introduced this in the market. It was new. The banks in Ghana were very traditional. Nothing like this was really happening. So Mr. Kofi Amoaben decided that, let's simplify the process of loans. Let's simplify it. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Let's give people loans in less than 48 hours. So 2 days, you have your stuff, the loan is disbursed into your account. You move. Quick. So this product was introduced, it was introduced. I can't necessarily say it was unprofitable because I feel like the Ghanaian market liked it, even though probably the interest rates were a bit high. The Ghanaian market, I don't know how long it stayed in the introduction phase, but it began to gain, traction. It began to gain traction. Then it began to grow. A lot of people began to hear about it. People began to subscribe to it. People began to get loans for 48 hours. Then new entrants were starting to get attracted. So you have other banks to also say, oh, wait till we give loans in 24 hours, or you give loans in, because other banks began to copy that model. Even some of the traditional banks to try to go that route, copying that model. At a point, because of these new entrants, that product began to mature. So because you had a whole lot of people in the market with their own product, the product began to mature. And so the opportunity for growth was declining. Then until last 2 years or so, for several reasons, the bank had to be shut down. So like that's an example. I'm just giving you an idea of how the whole product lifecycle thing works. So products will go through stages. There are some products because of how they reinvent themselves or differentiate themselves, they never decline. They stay in the maturity stage for long and become leaders. They stay in the maturity phase for long. Just imagine how long McDonald's has been in the system. They've been in the system for ages, but they keep on reinventing, differentiating based on quality, based on price, and they've been there for long. Now, if you want to buy a McDonald's franchise, it's like $1 million. So they keep on reinventing, differentiating themselves. Okay, so let's look at the cost implications of the product lifecycle. What do I mean by cost implications? Like you see the man there looking at money in the sky. So what are these cost implications? At every stage in the product lifecycle, there's an associated cost. Every stage. And it's the cost that influences how much profit you can make. If you just imagine, if your costs are really high, what do you think will happen to your profits? Your profits will be declining. So it's necessary to understand the cost implications in every single stage. So number one, you have research and development costs. And this will usually happen when? In the introductory phase, or even pre-introduction to, research the market, try to see what's going on, research what kind of products customers will like, and all that. Research all of that. Research all of that. Research all of that. Research all of that. So you have research and development. That's around the introductory phase. That's around the introductory phase. Then you also have the training costs, because the product you'll be serving, like, you need to train the people that will deliver the product. So for example, if you go to, I don't know who likes eating at restaurants, but if you go to, let's say, Golden Tulip, they've trained the people. Or if you go to not even Golden Tulip, if you go to Las Palmas or Yebudidi Choba, they've trained the people to serve whatever product. So at the introduction phase, you like to train people, understand how to push the product to your customer. Push the product to the customer. So this is very, very important. Then you also have machinery costs. You can call these costs capital requirements or capital intensive costs, basically. Depending on the kind of product you are launching, you would need some capex or capital requirements or machinery costs, whatever you call it. And this is usually around the introductory to the growth stages. Then you have distribution costs. Distribution cost it runs through from introduction to maturity, but it's more centered around, I would say it's more centered around introduction and growth. Introduction and growth. You have marketing cost as well. You need marketing at every stage. At the growth phase and the introduction phase, it has to be intense if you want to drive your product. The retirement and disposal cost is centered more around the decline stage. Sometimes companies feel that this product is just not working. It's just not working. No matter how we are doing our advertising, no matter how we are like pushing this product, getting the product to the customer, they just don't want it. They just don't want it. So they just retire the product and dispose of and go. Just imagine how, what do you call it? I keep on using Glow, but just imagine how Glow, had to just leave. They had to, because it just wasn't working. Their product just wasn't working. Yeah, so that was what I was talking about. So at the product development stage, you need research and development costs. You make a lot of research and development costs. You also make a lot of CapEx decisions. You also make a lot of CapEx decisions. Then at the introduction to the market, that's where you make a lot of more operating costs, running costs. When we say operating costs, these are day-to-day costs. Then at the growth phase, you need to expand your capacity, improve your capacity. So you would invest more into capacity and into working capital. At this stage too, you might find efficiency. So at this stage, it's possible to, if you know what you are doing and you're doing it right, at this stage, you might get some economies of scale. Then you also have the maturity phase. At the maturity phase, you incur costs to maintain capacity. Now see the difference. At the growth stage, you incur costs to expand capacity. At the maturity phase, you incur costs to maintain capacity. To survive at this stage, like I've always said, you need to reinvent yourself through differentiation. So you need what we call product enhancement costs. So you need to enhance the product to make it a lot more unique. And also here, you also incur marketing costs as well. Then you have the decline and withdrawal. Decline and withdrawal. So you feel like, the product is going down, down, down. So you feel like, maybe I just need to withdraw and move. So you need some costs you've been carrying are asset decommissioning. So when you say decommissioning means to decommission basically means that you are no longer working with these assets again or doing business with these assets again. And so you are basically calling it off, calling everything off when you are leaving. Yeah. So you decommission your assets. You might also incur some restructuring costs here. So there are several costs depending on the stage you are in the life cycle. Very, very, very important. Very, very important. Very, very important. So what are some of the benefits of the life cycle costs? What are some of the benefits? Like, why is it so important? It's very, very, very important. Why is it so important? So, for example, if you are given a case, and it's talking about a product, for example, like Inkunim stores launched a product. It's been in the market for 5 years. This product has just been introduced. Its sales are very, very slow. The case is basically telling you about the stage of the product in the life cycle. It's telling you about the stage of the product in the life cycle. So that's how to apply. And like I said, we would be looking at cases and we'll be looking at how to apply these cases. Okay, so what are the advantages? Number one is that you can assess the potential profitability of products. How do you do that using the life cycle? Because basically sales and cost within each life cycle. So once you know sales and cost, it's easy to assess the profitability. It's easy to assess the profitability. And because you also know what do you call it? Another advantage is that because you understand every single stage in the life cycle, you can also use that to manage costs at every stage. Depending on the stage you are in, you can know how to manage costs. So, for example, at the introductory stage, you'd be incurring more costs around startup, etc. So that's the point where you need to figure out how to find efficiencies. That's the point where you need to figure out efficiencies. It also helps to monitor actual performance of the products. It also helps you to monitor the actual performance. And one last thing that's very, very key, it also influences your pricing strategy. This is very, very important one of the reasons why I've talked about profitability, I've talked about cost management, I've talked about, monitoring performance. But one of the reasons why the life cycle model is very, 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 very important is because it influences pricing strategy. So, if you know the stage you are in the life cycle, you know how to charge your prices. For example, you can't introduce a product and just be starting to charge high prices. That's not smart. That's not intelligent. So you can start at the introductory stage, you can start with low prices so that you can penetrate the market. Then at the growth stage, that's when you began to gain traction, then you might want to change your pricing strategy. So at every stage, your pricing strategy will change, or you can modify it to suit, basically. So how this life cycle model is so relevant to strategic management. It's so relevant to strategic management. Because it helps you to time the entry into the market. One of the things that Glow did wrong was their timing was bad. Bad timing into the market. Bad timing into the market. So it was a market where MTN was almost there. MTN was almost like a monopoly. MTN wasn't a monopoly, but they had a huge amount of the market share. Very, very huge amount. So at that point, MTN was in their growth phase. They were doing well. They were in their growth to maturity phase. So when you understand the life cycle properly, you know when to enter the market and you know when to exit the market. And that's how relevant it is to strategic management. That's how relevant it is to strategic management. Very, very key. Very, very key. Timing is everything. 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 Then number 2 is it helps you to analyze competition as well. Because it helps you to understand the stage of the life cycle your competitors are in. It helps you to understand that. Okay, so what stage of the life cycle are my competitors in? Then you can use that to assess how to position yourselves against them.